Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Knights of the Alternate Table. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about what if Gran Colombia joined together and stayed together and was unified. There's multiple ways this could have been done. I'm gonna say that Simon Bolivar managed to settle his presidency for life and sewed up Gran Colombia nice and tightly before he died. Once Simon Bolivar died, there's no intermediary between the US and Gran Colombia, because Simon Bolivar loved the US, but without it, they would become bitter rivals and start to hate each other, trying to undermine each other just so they can be the dominant power in the Western Hemisphere. This will lead to a bunch of tension with anything either one would do, so America couldn't be the power it is today. As the US went to invade Mexico to manifest their destiny, Gran Colombia would give Mexico supply, men, training, to make sure that the USA would have a difficult fight, much as in Russians in Afghanistan in our timeline, though a little bit easier. The US would still win the war, but it would be a hard-fought battle that would become unpopular and hurt American war efforts. Even though the US won the Mexican-American War, they overall lost because Gran Colombia could support Mexico and set up a satellite state in Mexico. So they're not as corrupt and divided as they were in our timeline. So it would become a stronger Mexico that wouldn't let the US push them around so easily anymore. They would grow to resent the US, much like Gran Colombia. So, when the US starts showing growth, Gran Colombia and Mexico would be glad and start putting it in the ideas, saying offhand remarks to try and tempt the Confederacy to break off from the US and divide the country into a civil war so that they may win and become the dominant power of the Western Hemisphere, with Mexico as an ally helping them. Gran Colombia and Mexico would help the Confederacy win the war to take down the US. They would supply troops, munitions, supplies, food, and most importantly, blockade trade with the US government. This would help the European powers to send more resources to the CSA so they can get all of American supplies, not just the USA supplies, which is not very financeable. Smart. By successfully doing this, they starve the USA, while Confederate troops make their way closer and closer to capturing the Union. More territories would start to uproll, so they can be in the Confederacy and become a state once the Confederacy inevitably wins the war. The Confederacy would split America into two parts. They would take Utah territories, Colorado territories, Indian territories, annex West Virginia and Washington, D.C., and the Union would move their capital to New York to keep it safe there, where the Confederacy can't win it in a quick victory like they did in this timeline. As the war ends, a clear side has been chosen. Germany, having cultural ties to America, would become their number one European friend to the USA, while Britain, wanting that sweet tobacco, sugar, and gold, would unify itself with Gran Colombia, Mexico, and the Confederacy to try and keep a balance in the region. Most of the allies would end up trading. The US economy would plummet as most European powers would start trading with Gran Colombia, Mexico, and the Confederacy, while the US only has Germany and Austria-Hungary, basically the central powers to trade with. While Mexico, Gran Colombia, and the Confederacy grow stronger and stronger, the US grows weaker and weaker, but always has Germany to help them out in times of need. Brazil, realizing that what happened to the US very well may happen to them, would ally themselves with the US to at least make it harder for the Confederacy, Mexico, and Gran Colombia to attack them, to have to fight at least a two-front war. They would become strong brothers with the US. They would help each other out with loans and other financial. World War I would still break out in this timeline, with the Central Powers being formed with Germany, the US, Austria-Hungary, Bulgaria, the Ottoman Empire, and Brazil, to try and defeat the Entente Powers, which has grown and have more members than what they had in our timeline. This would be a huge... While the Entente Powers would be made up of Gran Colombia, France, Belgium, Mexico, Russia, Britain, the Confederacy, and Serbia, to try and stop Central Powers' aggression against them and their colonies. This looks like an unfair war, but with the economic might of the Central Powers, it would be a harder fight than what the Entente was thinking. Brazil would be destroyed quickly, with a mainly Gran Colombian assault on their western and northern borders, with the British and their colonies also invading. They would not be prepared for this war and would be squashed like a bug. This would turn Gran Colombia's and British intentions over to the US, who would be in a fight with Mexico, the Confederacy. They would try and do what the Germans were doing in Europe. Try and take it out one side first to not have to fight a two-side war. They would decide to go south, as the CSA, Mexico, and Gran Colombia were busy fighting on two fronts, while Canada was sending over troops to fight in Europe and not having time to invade the US, though this would later come back to bite them. The US, being surrounded now, as Canadian troops started mobilizing more and more and started to invade the North, would quickly try and take out the South before and let them go down with them. They would be successful in this, but it would be too little, too late. The US would fall, and the lands would be divided up among the Western Hemisphere powers who came to destroy them. Meanwhile, in Europe, the British try to attack the Ottomans, the French go to attack the Ottomans and the Germans. The British also attack the Bulgarians through Serbia. Serbia tries to attack all the neighbors invading it, Bulgaria, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottomans. Russia invades the Ottomans and the Austrian-Hungaries, while Germany attacks Russia, Belgium, and France. Serbia is quickly destroyed along with Belgium, so Bulgaria and Austria-Hungary turned their attacks and their armies to invade Serbia towards Russia, while the Germans attack Russia now too, while the Russians mount a quick defense. The Ottomans are about to collapse, with the Russians also about to collapse and turning into the Soviet Union, as they did in our timeline. World War I wouldn't change as much as it did in our timeline. The main thing being, the Allies lose a lot more men, and the war rages on for even more years without the boost of others, as the North American powers had to occupy enemy territory, which was large and expansive in the New World, unlike in the Old World. There wouldn't be much time for trench warfare. It would be more closer to what we have now. Right as it was looking like Britain and France would be surrounded, Italy and Portugal would come in and manage to save the Entente from being destroyed in Europe. So, the war would end with Germany and Austria-Hungary and Bulgaria surrendering. So, watch the next video to find out what happens after World War I. Hey guys, I'm gonna take this end screen to try something new and just thank you for watching. I know most people don't stick around to the end, as my analytics tells me that people watch only about 3 minutes of my videos, but thank you so much for sticking around and watching this. And since you managed to stick around, why not hit subscribe, hit that like and notification button. I would really appreciate it. Another thing you could do is join the Discord server, where I'm running an alternate history project that I'll update every time something new happens in the world of lore, and so you can be a part of my videos and help to influence what is going on in the world. So, if you like my videos and like my content, why not hit subscribe? And bonus, you'll get notifications on when I post a new video. So thank you so much for watching, and welcome to the Knights of the Alternate Table if you subscribe. And if you don't, it's fine. Just stick around and watch anyways. Goodbye! That was cringy. I used to do that when I was a gamer on YouTube. You know, I used to have more subscribers as a gaming YouTuber, but now I'm an alternate history YouTuber because I'm not a cringy kid anymore. So, bye guys, have fun!